All right. Well, it's Dr. H here, and I am super excited to have the lovely Amanda Nighbert with me, registered dietitian and practitioner extraordinaire. She has a many things to offer, but one of her great programs is called Lean. So if you're not familiar with her work yet, do check her out. And today, Amanda and I are here to chat about food noise and the holidays. So thank you so much for being here today, Amanda.
I'm excited to be back. Thanks for having me.
Such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. And so I thought we'd kind of kick it off here by, kind of providing our listeners a few ideas about, how to navigate the holiday season with a not just a strategy, kind of like a controlling strategy, but a whole new way of thinking about the holiday season. And I have some thoughts myself, but I just want to toss the ball to you and hear a little bit about anything you have to say, including what you might share about your own journey about how you relate to the holidays.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this time between Halloween and New Year's is the wild, wild west for a lot of people when it comes to their health and wellness goals. There are so many scenarios that we encounter during this time of year that are just not typical on a day-to-day basis, and I think a lot of people struggle to navigate that atypical type of things that are happening. And that's where they kind of fall into maybe that all or nothing mindset, where if I can't control it all, if I can't mind my P's and Q's to the highest level, then I might as well, wait until the new year when I've got that structure and control. And I think one of the things, and I can't wait to hear your kind of side of it, but to me, from my experience working with thousands of clients and even my own understanding of what this holiday period kind of feels like, I think there's really two big things that drive unhealthy habits, if we want to talk about like food noise and things like that. Number one, I think it's stress. It is a stressful time of year. We tend to overpack our calendars. We have lots of obligations. There's this, stress to maybe live up to this ideal of what a perfect holiday is. So yeah, just in general, high levels of cortisol. People tend to, I know for me, I am a stress eater. So if I find myself overwhelmed or in, times of high stress, I want to eat and I don't want to eat, carrots and apples. I want to eat salt and sugar, bring me the chips, bring me the ice cream, bring me the cake, bring me the pie. So that's kind of number one, understanding that stress could be driving you to have more food noise. And I think number two is what I consider kind of the vicious cycle. And that is, the fact that when we do kind of lean on carbohydrate rich, sugar rich foods, it starts with the candy holiday. We just got through the pie holiday. Now we're going into the cookie and fudge holiday. We know that. And I know, again, for myself in general, the more carbohydrates, sugars, processed foods that I eat, the less I prioritize whole food nutrition, fiber, protein, healthy fats, the more the food noise increases. I want to eat every 2 to 3 hours. I'm having more cravings versus hunger. So again, it's kind of like a vicious cycle for this particular time of year based on, some of the delectable food choices that are all around.
Yeah, well said, well said. And I love what you pointed to, those two different things, right? So stress, and then separately that, kind of all or nothing, and really leaning into like um just more of the sugary whole world, and how that kind of perpetuates itself. Two aspects of it. And so, what I hear in that is really right. So if we just slow down, right? First of all, just slow down, right? Which in this time of year is, it feels like an impossibility, but really grabbing any moment we can for a pause and starting to look at, okay, if, and I know a lot of people can relate to this, if stress is one of the key things that is going to lead to, train off the track kind of next month and change, how might we start there, right? How might we set ourselves up to just lower the stressors in our lives? And so, with that in mind, I would invite everyone who is listening today, kind of surveying your life and looking at, okay, there are some stressors that you are not going to avoid. It's part of life, right? We are all going to have our stressors. But are there things that you could offload, right? Are there things that you could either outsource, or you could just simply be a no to, right? You could actually modify, if your expectations, keeping in mind the North Star is really feeling your best, being your best, right, as the North Star. So what might you pull off your proverbial plate that leads to less on your literal plate, right? Because you're not so stressed. Anything else you would say about that stress in how to mitigate it in a way that just the natural side effect is that you have less food noise, you have less cravings?
Yeah, I mean, I think that no, I agree with both of those. Both of those. I think another step, because I feel like stress management, it's a hard one. It's really easy to kind of talk about and be like, just reduce your stress. Like it's so easy, but at the end of the day, it really is one of the hardest tasks that people have. So, a lot of times with my clients, the first thing I want them to identify, especially relative to food noise, is just identifying that I am reacting to stress
Mhm.
based, and this has created this food noise, like just understanding that there is a correlation between these types of events, or how your schedule is or whatever that leads to kind of these poor habits, whether it be food noise or whatever it may be. So again, just like being aware, I am
Yeah.
a stress eater, I am a stressful person, and then from that point, because I find it very helpful that if I have that period where my cravings really ramp up or I've got a lot of food noise, away from like my typical meal patterns, just sitting here thinking about like why do I have
Mhm.
that extra food noise? Did I skip breakfast? Was I so stressed and in such a rush that I skipped breakfast and, didn't have time for lunch? And now I'm sitting in this period where I'm just, so hungry and I have very little healthy options around me, or did I just get in a fight with my children or my husband? And now I'm sitting here, I just ate an hour ago, but all of a sudden I want to eat, ice cream. What's that relative to? So, again, just maybe identifying what triggered that response will help you to be able to have better strategies moving forward. Like, okay, it's not ideal for me to run out the door and skip a meal. I need to grab this, I need to grab that, or it's going to lead to this. Or when I feel myself having this extra food noise relative to a stressful event, I'm going to take a walk, I'm going to do some deep breathing exercises. And I always tell my clients, I'm like, it's not going to happen every time. You may have good intentions on how to address the situation, but some days you're just going to be like, I'm just going to eat ice cream. And then other days you're going to do the work to kind of muck through addressing that event or stressful situation in a way beyond food.
Yeah, love that. Love that. And what I hear in that is this there's a great visual, and you may have seen it at some point, is like, stimulus response. And then in the middle there we can create a pause, right? So just simply being able to see the stimulus, whether it's, oh my gosh, I'm starving and that's why I want to eat everything in sight, and by the way, what's in sight is not ideal, right? Or I'm angry, or my feelings are hurt, or I'm lonely or frustrated, or whatever the emotional stimulus is, with the kind of like knee jerk reaction, the desire to overindulge or consume things that aren't ideal for what you intend for your health. And in both of those situations, right, so that first one, looking at, okay, how could I set myself up better in the future, right? So that I don't arrive in a place where I'm so hungry and I don't have a lot of great options. And then, emotionally speaking, how might I create a pause so that, yes, I actually am free to choose whatever I want to do. I can eat the ice cream, I can eat the cookies, I can do whatever it is that I feel called to do. But why don't I just, if I could insert a little time out for myself, and not time out as in bad me, but just time out to be with myself and notice what's there, and then make a choice rather than be at the effect of the knee jerk kind of pull that might immediately show up.
Yeah, because the knee jerk reaction we always regret, you
Yeah.
know?
It
Then
never feels
then now it's like
self-honoring.
double whammy, you know? Then it was like
Yeah.
stress from this, and then now you're stressed because you
Right.
just did an action that you didn't want to do in the first place. So again,
Yes.
it's like double down. And then after that, then it's like, might as well, I've already blown it.
Right.
And then the hole just gets deeper and deeper and deeper.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I often think about, whether it's around how we're caring for our bodies or like so many other areas of life, if the only question we were to contemplate, is like, okay, what would make me really proud of myself, in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, tomorrow, whatever it is, just kind of like, but kind of in the
Yes.
immediate future. We're not talking about 5 years from now. We're talking
Right.
about like, just what would, of the many choices I could make, what would have me feel proud of myself? It's like, that would be a worthy contemplation. And sometimes it can give people access to, you know, find find a moment in the midst of it, right? They're like, halfway through the pint of ice cream and they're like, oh, I'm suddenly awake,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I love that. I think that
Mhm.
I've never really heard someone, speak to it in that kind of way, and I think that's a great way to look at it. What actions can I do that, again, I'm going to leave this scenario in a better place?
Yeah, yeah, awesome, awesome. And then
I
for
also
you,
think I'll just kind of throw in there, again, people are listening to this hopefully in December or at the end of the year. And again, I think a lot of people put off their health and wellness this month,
mhm.
because you just know you've like, I've got too many parties, I've just got too many things that are going to you know, be a challenge to be perfect. Okay. Whereas in January, I'm going to have the capacity to be perfect. So, one of the things I'm really encouraging my clients this month is do something. Find your ability to be successful in the small daily habits in some way this month. Don't focus on eating perfectly. Focus
Mhm.
on getting your steps in every day. Focus on drinking more water every day. Focus on the little things that we know still matter that you can be proud of that you did this month. So again, it's not like you're just completely throwing in the towel, for 2 or 3 months every year at the end of the year. You're finding a way to say, okay, yes, my food choices are going to be a little bit more discretionary this month. However, I'm still going to look at, this, and this, and really aim to follow through with those habits for, the majority of the time. Because at the end of the day, it is your ability to be consistent, not perfect, that is really what creates the results. And if you're someone who's constantly like starting and stopping, then you need to stop starting and you need to start working on being consistent,
Yeah.
because that's why you continue to kind of, fall off the wagon is because you're either all in or you're all out. So I think that that's another just powerful strategy for this month is just, again, not seeing it as, you need to be doing everything right, but seeing it as every day, is there something I can do to elevate my health and wellness?
Yeah, love that. Love that. Playing a better game, just playing a better game. Consistently playing a better game in acknowledging the reality of the moment is going to shift, your definition of a better game. at the holiday Christmas party on a Friday night is going to be different than your definition on a Wednesday. That's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And back to kind of your point of like, what would make me proud?
Mm-hmm.
Again, when we talk about stress that leads to food noise and, poor food choices that lead to food noise, or I mean, any other things that may kind of lead to food noise. Um, using your ability to end the day and not focus 100% on all the things you did wrong, but highlighting the things that you did right. Yeah, I had, cake at lunch and, wine at dinner or whatever, but I also walked 10,000 steps. I also drank, 64 ounces of fluid. I also went to bed early last night. I also said no to, whatever at dinner. So there is a lot to be said for that kind of like positive mindset and how much it, propels you forward.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that you're highlighting that, Amanda. I call that count your wins, like count your
Yeah.
wins, right? Because it's very, it's kind of culturally encouraged to see where you're losing, but not see where you're winning, right? For a lot of
Right.
people anyway. And what comes to mind, it's so we have a granddaughter who is 6 months old, and my stepdaughter just sent a video yesterday of her baby now crawling for the first time. And the look on her face when she looked up after doing a few little wiggles forward, she was just like, look at what I can do, right? It's like, oh my gosh, yes, keep being proud of yourself like that, right? So,
Yeah.
acknowledging those, there's no such thing as a small win, right? Whether you had 3 pieces of pizza instead of 5, okay, great. That is,
Amen.
yeah, exactly. We're gonna cheer you on all day long. You stopped at 2 glasses of wine, and as opposed to 4, okay, great. Or maybe you stopped at 4 instead of 6. Whatever your version of a better game is, awesome. We want you to acknowledge yourself for that.
Yeah, and that matters,
Mm-hmm.
again, people want big results, they want fast progress, but at the end of the day, it's way more sustainable to make small changes consistently. Those little things will add up. Again, one of my biggest, like, I feel like visuals of this, kind of concept is just if you took an extra 1,000 steps a day for the next
Mm-hmm.
365 days, okay? I mean, that's a half a mile. Let's say most people average a 14-minute walk mile. So we're talking an extra 7 minutes of walking a day. We all could do that. That equals 72 additional miles that you have walked in a year. And that's a lot. So that's a really good example of how something very little, 7 minutes a day, can equate to something really big at the end. So those small things, they do add up.
Yeah, it's like compounding interest,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Awesome. And for yourself, Amanda, are there any over the years as you have been in your own health journey, are there a few kind of North Star nuggets that you have brought into your life, in particular around these busy holiday times?
Yeah, I mean, it goes a little bit back to kind of structure plan,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm 47 years old. I'm a dietitian. I've been in this space since, for 25 years. And at the end of the day, I just have to say that it's literally taken me until about the last 2 years to get to the consistency that I'm even at. So it
Right.
doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But I know that there's a couple of things that if I focus on, then
Mm-hmm.
I will come out of every scenario in much better shape. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that is number one, always eating protein forward. So protein and even fibrous foods are going to always fill you up and keep you full longer. So, if whenever I'm sitting down to a meal, whether it be a holiday buffet, whether it be Thanksgiving, whatever it may be, I'm always going to just in the back of my mind going, where can I really load up on protein and fiber? And then I'm going to eat all the mac and cheese, all the sweet potato pie, all the, desserts I want, because I know that if I just did that, at the end of the day, I'm probably going to be eating less than I
Mhm.
would had I not eaten protein and fiber forward. So I always am looking at that anytime I kind of address a meal or a food situation. Number two, again, I feel like it's very simple, but it has a huge reward, and that is to drink plenty of water. Especially when we're talking about food noise, because the signal for thirst and hunger are exactly the same. So a lot of times people are walking around thinking they're hungry all day, but in reality, your body's just requesting water because we're dehydrated. We're living on coffee and caffeine and, sodas, things that actually dehydrate us versus hydrate us. So again, another strategy is I'm always looking to consume at least half my body weight in water. Electrolyte water is even better because I know that if I structure myself to have adequate hydration, I'm not going to get that food noise that is really actually hydration noise.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do that. And then two other things. I really try to eat on a schedule.
Yeah.
I really believe that hunger is very much like pain. Once you allow yourself to get to the point where you're hungry, and especially if you allow yourself to get to the point where you're really hungry, it's
Mhm.
very hard to address that feeling. It
Yeah.
takes a lot of food, at least in my opinion. Like, I feel like I eat a big meal and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm still hungry. I'm still hungry. So I really try to stay in front of my hunger and just be more structured about what, times I'm eating. And again, I find that that really helps me to, again, avoid the nibbling and grazing, the snacking throughout the day, which can be very mindless, and just really focus on kind of three structured meals a day, kind of one snack. And then the last thing that I just feel really committed to myself is that I just feel like I can always hit my step goal.
Mhm.
Whatever most scenarios I'm in, there's no reason why I can't get kind of like my minimum step goal. So I might not be able to get a big workout in. I might not be able to, avoid alcohol or get a good night's sleep, but by golly, I can, get my steps in. I can drink some water. I can focus on protein and fiber, and I can try to stick to my meal schedule.
Yeah, love that. Love that. That's so great. Yeah. Yeah. And for all of you listening, my encouragement is to really, first of all, grab onto Amanda's gems. That she's totally, she's coming from a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom, right? Those are two different things, but Amanda has them both. So, right, use them. And also look for yourself, right? So maybe for you decide that where you're going to start this year is really playing a better game around alcohol. Maybe that's your first baby step for this holiday season, or maybe it is around steps, or maybe it is around okay. I'm going to focus on that protein first. But everybody is starting in a different place, and we acknowledge and honor wherever you are is perfect. And our wish for you is that you take where you are and you just look at what would make a difference for me this holiday season. And like Amanda shared, right, this is not handled in a year or 2 years or 3 years, right? This is really a journey. We're about the same age. I'm 48, and it's taken me a long time to arrive where it's like I honor my health because I could do no other kind of experience, right?
Right.
But it wasn't like that always, right? And so wherever you are in that journey is great. And so many of the things you're saying, I'm like, yes, love it, love it, love it, absolutely. I'm curious to hear, and I'll share my own favorite, but I'm curious if you have a favorite electrolyte enhancement.
I mean, I use Ultima a
Me
lot.
too.
Yeah.
I love Ultima.
Yeah.
I just, when I work out, I don't sweat enough to justify Element.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's high in sodium, which is fine if you're running a marathon, great,
Right.
but I don't need it. And I also use high quality Himalayan salt or sea salt on my food. So I'm
Right.
like, I'm getting my sodium there. So I love that we're on the same page with that. What's your
Yeah.
favorite
I also
flavor?
like all my water to be flavored. So with Ultima, you can use, a couple of scoops a
Mhm.
day.
Mhm.
Whereas with some of the higher sodiums, I would only use, once a day, or with heavy exercise, maybe
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah. 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 I love their pink lemonade and lemonade. I think those are my favorites.
Passion fruit. If you haven't had the
Passion
passion
fruit. I
fruit,
haven't tried it yet.
so
Okay.
good. So good.
Okay. Nice. Awesome. 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 And yeah, and for those of you listening, that's something where maybe you decide if you're taking on alcohol, if there's a way for you to slip one, if they come in little sticks, you could stick it in your purse, add it to sparkling water, have the experience of something fun, throw a lemon or a lime in it. And, there you have a nice little strategy you could play with and see how that feels for you. So yeah, excellent. Well, thank you so much, Amanda, for being